Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now, you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of any of the other channels? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. I want to build something that we all genuinely want to be part of, something that we're really excited to engage with, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about whether or not Dak can lead the Dallas Cowboys to a Super Bowl. I have some really strong thoughts about this one. I think to me it's a very clear answer, but I want to hear what they have to say. But I will just say that I think Dak can lead Dallas, or no, I think Dak can be Dallas's quarterback and get to a Super Bowl, but he can't lead the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. He can't win the Cowboys the Super Bowl. He's good enough to be a quarterback for the team, for a Super Bowl team, but he can't be the leader of it. He can't be the reason why they're making the Super Bowl or going to win the Super Bowl, because he is not good enough, and he has not shown to have the mental fortitude and resilience and the ability to step up in the biggest moments possible at the highest level possible, aka the playoffs. He has consistently proven that. But if you get Dak Prescott with a really great team and a really great coach, and you don't ask Dak to be Superman, he is more than capable of doing it. He's more than capable of minimizing errors and mistakes and being a game manager, but then also being able to step up maybe when need be. I think he's more than capable of doing that. But if you say, hey, Dak, like Jerry said, Dak will go as far as Dak will take us, the Dallas will go as far as Dak takes us, that is not how you will win with Dak Prescott.
It's true. Can Cowboys win a Super Bowl with Dak? So it would be pretty unprecedented. And so I'm going to do something risky here. I'm going to quote Wilds off the air about a non-work thing that I think you're
in
fine
general,
with.
that's not allowed.
Yeah, I understand, but you
told
have
him something in confidence.
But no,
because I'm on the show. I wanted you to know. I will tell you. Right in the script.
Wilds and I have our youngest kids are about the same age, and we talk about youth sports and all this stuff. And we've talked about how you very often you have little kids who it's like, hey, gonna be a pro, and it's like, well, how tall are your parents? How athletic were your parents? How good are you right now? You know pretty early whether or not they're going to be professional athletes. Yeah. NFL quarterbacks, you know pretty early if they can ever take you to the Super Bowl. So in the last 30 years, 2 quarterbacks with their original team have made a Super Bowl, their first Super Bowl after the age of 30. 2 in the last 30 years. If they make it early. Matt Ryan did it at age 30. And he, by the way, had a lead in a conference championship game at age 25. Just, he was knocking on the door. And Peyton Manning's the other one. And he was knocking on the door year after year and was in a conference championship game young, didn't get there. So in the modern era of football, guys who are stick with the quarterback, stick with the team, will get there. If they don't, early. And so so I'm not saying he can't do it, but I'm saying it is very rare. And so you have the guys who change teams. Bruce's favorite, Rich Gannon, Matt Stafford. You have, the journeyman quarterbacks or whatever. But it's like, nope, this is our franchise quarterback. We're going to break through eventually. If they are going to break through, they do it early, historically. And the 2 that didn't, Ryan and Peyton, they were right there early and just fell barely short.
You got a why on it?
Well, yeah, because if you're good, I think that typically, some of it's the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's not totally fair. I don't necessarily disagree with what he's saying, and I think he's going to talk about the contract and how you start to get paid more money, and so now it's harder to build a team around you, which I think is very true. That's what we're really realizing how important these rookie deals are for quarterbacks and winning. But I think also a lot of times, what does it say about Peyton Manning, who was only able to get to the 1 Super Bowl. Or was he able to get to 2 Super Bowls with the Colts? I forget now. But my point is that he was able to have more concentrated success, even when he wasn't even as good with the Broncos than with the Colts, right? It took longer for him to have success with the Colts. And so what does that have to say more about? Is that more about Payton, or is that more about the Colts franchise and the organization as a whole? Same thing with Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford is probably the best example of this because he was with Detroit Lions for years, couldn't do anything, couldn't really get really consistently to the playoffs, make noise in the playoffs, win, and get to a Super Bowl. He has 1 year with the Rams and wins the Super Bowl. Is that on Matthew Stafford? No. That was on the Detroit Lions, right? That was on them. And so I think in a lot of times when you see these quarterbacks, and we've talked about this a lot now, is how important where you're drafted, where you go to, and how these franchises are run, who's the coaches, and all of that. And so it's not on the quarterback. I will live and die on this argument. Josh Allen is more than capable of winning a Super Bowl. Give him a good team. Give him a great head coach. Give him Andy Reid. Josh Allen would have won a Super Bowl if he was drafted instead of Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying that he would have been more successful than Patrick Mahomes. Okay, so please save those types of comments. I'm not saying that Josh Allen would be better than Patrick Mahomes, that he would have more success than Patrick Mahomes, that it would just be like way better if he was drafted instead of Patrick Mahomes by the Chiefs. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I can all but guarantee that Josh Allen would be a significantly better player than he is right now and would have way more success and would most likely have at least one Super Bowl if he was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs and had Andy Reid as his head coach. I'm very confident in that, okay? Sean McDermott is not Andy Reid. And if you're a Chiefs fan and you can't admit that, then I don't know what to tell you. Then it's a shame that you don't appreciate the brilliance of your head coach. So, to me, it can't all just go on the quarterback. And then the problem, what happens is that with this, if you're not able to do it early on because you don't have the right pieces, you don't have the right coach and all of that, then the problem is it takes a few years. Now you either now have to pay the quarterback and you fire the coach, and now you don't have the same circumstances now. And that's what's that's kind of what happens with like the Joe Burrows, the Josh Allens of the world, the Justin Herberts, is that you squandered their earlier years. And so now you're like, oh crap, we have a bad coach and we need to fire him. And you know what? We haven't done enough to build the offensive line or to get good offensive weapons, or we never established a good run game for these quarterbacks. And so, okay, we're going to go do that now. But like now we have to go pay this quarterback like $200 and some million. And now it makes it a lot harder to do that. You have to rely on rookies and stuff like, it just becomes so much more complicated. So that's why if you're going to win a Super Bowl, you do it early on in your career, because you either have the pieces there together, you have the coaches, you have the players, and you have the cheap contracts, so you're able to do it. I'm going to keep saying this probably to the end of time, but like Patrick Mahomes is not winning a Super Bowl in his first 3, 4, 5 years of his career if he's drafted by the Carolina Panthers. He's just not. There's no reason to believe that. We've never seen it done with any quarterback. I think, and especially because like they obviously never had the coaches right for all those years as well. So, I think that is not taken into consideration enough when looking at some of these more like overarching statistics. Matt Ryan probably could have won a Super Bowl had he had Shanahan for longer, or if he had better weapons, or if that, again, if he was drafted by a more organized franchise at the time. I know they kind of got their act together with Matt Ryan, and they obviously had Shanahan, but that was also as Shanahan as an OC, Shanahan early and on in his career. Again, that was also the beautiful benefit of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Andy Reid had already been coaching for like 15 years or something. He's already been coaching for so long. He made his mistakes. He lost in a Super Bowl. He went to multiple NFC championship games and all of that. So he learned, he grew. Coaches grow and learn and evolve. So That's also the benefit of that. So same thing with Matthew Stafford getting Sean McVay. He got Sean McVay after years of already coaching, after McVay has made his mistakes, after McVay mismanaged clock management, was too aggressive in other key moments and not aggressive enough, lost in a Super Bowl. Like, McVay learned and grew as a coach, and by the time he got Stafford, he's like, great, I know exactly what we need to do, and they were able to do it. So a lot of it is also just timing.
I think some of it is the easiest time to build the team around him is, when they're young and cheap. And the other is guys don't improve that much that late. They improve a lot. Like Purdue's best case on Purdy, I think one of them is that you do improve a lot early on. But from year 5 to year 10, there's not that much, you know what I mean, that much improvement.
I mean, Dak's not in that class of a Burrow. We probably expect him to get one, right?
Yeah.
Dak's not in that class.
Josh Allen probably expect him
to get at least one.
Yeah.
But can you win a Super Bowl with it? Yes, you can. And I would, obviously, your point was good, but there are exceptions. Heck, we're looking at an exception this year. Mr. Irrelevant is freaking starting in the Super Bowl in his second year. Hadn't even played 2 full seasons. All right, Nick Foles just a few years ago. That's an exception. This is going back a little, but Kurt Warner, not even drafted. First year as a starter, leads him to the Super Bowl, wins MVP. So you do see exceptions. Even Jalen Hurts, I know it was early in his career, to your point, but this is a guy that the year before he got to the Super Bowl, people didn't think he could throw.
But I guess what I would say is what all those exceptions had in common was, including this year's, is they're so cheap they have awesome teams around them. No, none of those exceptions are that they're one of the highest paid in the league,
right?
And therefore
but
you
Dallas
don't.
Has they don't have the most talent in the league, but they're up there. They're probably arguably top 5.
Right, and that's why I think this year was such a missed opportunity, because the talent is going to start to be pared away. Their ability this offseason to go add a Brandon Cooks and add a Stephon Gilmore, that goes away when CeeDee Lamb makes as much as him and Brandon Cooks combined. Their ability to go add a Stephon Gilmore goes away when Micah makes the most money of any defensive player in the league. Dak's number just is going to keep rising. And so it was a massive moment for them. And it's not only that they squandered the moment, but it's also that it raised, to me, even more questions about Dak. That he can have that type of year that he had and be that scared that quickly in the playoffs.
Well,
And I largely agree with that. And as you guys know, I don't always largely agree with Nick Wright, but I think a lot of what he's saying is definitely spot on and accurate with regards to this. And the Cowboys team, and this is what I was saying to someone in the comments yesterday, is that the Cowboys really are only in a position to kind of go backwards in a lot of ways. Their coaching is now uneasy. They lost their top defensive coordinator, which is a head coach level defensive coordinator, which is as good as it gets. When you have a coordinator who's just as good as a head coach, that's amazing, right? That is as good as it gets, and now they lost that. So their defense is going to take a step back. McCarthy, I mean, who has this just undying confidence that McCarthy is going to be able to lead them? And who has this undying confidence that Dak Prescott is? And again, you can't expect Dak Prescott to go up another level or 2. It's just, why would you expect it? Why would he just magically just get even better? Like they were saying, you just don't really see this continued growth up. It just doesn't happen. So then the other way that you can get better is by getting better players and building a team even better, or getting really lucky and you draft a player, in the 3rd round, 2nd round, really wherever, and that guy just ends up being a dude where you're just like, whoa, right? You draft some running back and that guy ends up being like just one of the best running backs in the NFL, just like that. And you're just like, whoa, that was, wow, didn't see that one coming. But that's also luck. There's a lot of luck involved in that. And so I just don't think that there's any real reason to believe that the Cowboys are going to get better or that Dak is going to get better. And so if you're not getting better, why are you expecting better results? The only way that you could hope for is that the teams around you get worse, and that's just unlikely. You know the Packers are going to get better. We know or at least play as good as they were last season. Detroit Lions should get better because they're now, some of their big key players are more mature and are getting better, especially like their run game and stuff. And the OC, Ben Johnson, is only getting better, more experienced as well. So you have to imagine that they'll either be just as good or better. The Eagles, in theory, should be significantly better because they got 2 legit offensive and defensive coordinators, which was a huge problem for them this past season. And so when you look at some of those names of those teams, you're just like, well, those teams aren't necessarily going anywhere. There's no reason to believe that they would. And in fact, there's reason to believe that they would all get better. And now you're seeing that the Cowboys, like, are they really going to get better? And I would say no. I think the best bet is that the 49ers should theoretically be like, you have to bet on either Purdy not being that good and that he's just had a great run and that he will, maybe be exposed. Not saying that he will be, but I'm just saying that would be like your best bet. Or Christian McCaffrey and some of these other players like Kittle, they're leaving their prime. They're getting more banged up. They're not what they were a few years ago. So now they would drop off a little bit, which means that the 49ers would drop off a little bit, right? Like this is probably theoretically the best year for the 49ers to win. And it could probably, you have to imagine maybe a step back unless Purdy continues to ascend and really proves to be what other people really want him to be, like a Montana. Then that's kind of different. But if Purdy is just who he is right now and doesn't necessarily improve, then you would have to imagine that this is the best season, the best year for them to really take advantage. And so I think they lost those years with Dak. You had the best time when Dak was cheaper, when you can build a better team around him, and when he was younger, healthier, more mobile than he is already right now. And now Dak is getting older every single year. He's already going to start to leave his physical prime, and yet now you're paying him top dollar. And so you are going to be in trouble with all of these big name players that the Cowboys would like to keep. And it's just too hard. You just can't do it. We've really never seen it happen. We just haven't. And again, if players like Tom Brady needed to take a pay cut to win all the Super Bowls that he did, and even Patrick Mahomes kind of doing some a little bit better of deals, although not as much now, then why do we think that someone like a Dak Prescott, why do we think Dak Prescott can overcome things that Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady couldn't even overcome? It's just, you're just asking too much. So I think you have to really kind of take a realistic, honest look at your team and your quarterback and how you're going to win. And if you're asking yourself, well, we have to do something that the Chiefs or the Patriots, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes haven't even been able to really do, or do consistently at the very least, then why would you expect, your team to be able to do so? That's the way I look at it. But what do you all think? Would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. Please let me know them in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly special, and I would love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really, really helps with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.